Can you imagine this? Mahatma Gandhi, the man the world called a saint, sleeping naked with young women to test his self-control? Yes, he did it. This isn't the heroic figure you learned about in textbooks. This is a side of history rarely spoken of, disturbing, controversial, and shocking even to his closest allies. From sharing beds with teenage girls to conducting secret experiments in celibacy that blurred the line between spirituality and exploitation, Gandhi's private life challenges everything you thought you knew about him. They called him the father of the nation, a man of peace, of simplicity, of truth. But behind the carefully polished image of Mahatma Gandhi lies a side of history that most schoolbooks leave out. A side that is disturbing, controversial, and still sparks debate today. This is not the Gandhi of statues and history textbooks. This is the Gandhi who experimented with his own body and with the women around him, all in the name of an idea he called Brahma. And once you hear this story, you may never look at Gandhi the same way again. Gandhi was born in 1869, married at the age of 13, and by the time he was 16, an incident changed his entire life. While his father lay dying, young Gandhi chose instead to be with his wife in their bedroom. The guilt of missing his father's final moments haunted him forever. From that day forward, Gandhi associated lust with weakness, with failure, with sin. To him, sex was not for pleasure. It was only for creating children. Anything beyond that was indulgence, and indulgence was the enemy. Even his closest ally, Jawaharlal Nehru, found Gandhi's view unnatural and shocking. But Gandhi was just getting started. In 1906, he publicly took a vow of celibacy. He called it the path of brahmacharya, control over desire, purity of thought, and the redirection of sexual energy into spiritual energy. He told Indians that marriage should be avoided, and that those who were married should abstain from sex entirely. In his ashrams, husbands and wives were forbidden from sleeping together. Boys and girls were told to bathe and even sleep in the same room, but never to speak of sex. And if passion arose, Gandhi's advice was simple: take a cold bath. But the rules of the ashram did not apply to Gandhi himself. From the 1920s onward, Gandhi began surrounding himself with young women. On his daily walks, he would rest his hands on their shoulders and joke that they were his walking sticks. His grannies, as Manu and Aba, often filled that role. Later, massages became part of his routine, performed by young women. Baths followed, sometimes with his female companions present. One of them was Sushila Nair, his personal doctor, who had attended to him since she was a teenager. Gandhi insisted that he kept his eyes shut when bathing with her, but the arrangements raised eyebrows everywhere. Soon, his experiments grew bolder. Gandhi began inviting women to sleep with him, sometimes clothed, sometimes not. He described it as a test of purity. If he could lie naked with women and remain free of desire, then he had mastered self-control. The women included his grandnieces Manu and Abha, the wives of his followers, and other attendants in his ashram. In his letters, Gandhi admitted that most of them were reluctant, but they complied out of respect, fear, or loyalty to him. Almost all of them would strip reluctantly, he wrote, but they did so at my prompting. To Gandhi, these experiments were essential for his spiritual progress. To others, they looked like hypocrisy at best, exploitation at worst. The fallout was real. Senior leaders like Sardar Patel called it a terrible blunder. Nehru kept his distance. Two of Gandhi's own editors resigned in protest, refusing to print his justifications. Even within his ashram, jealousy and resentment grew. Yet Gandhi pressed on. He argued that if he abandoned the experiments, it would mean he was mistaken. And to Gandhi, being mistaken was unacceptable. He redefined what chastity meant. A brahmachari, he claimed, was not simply someone who avoided sex. A true brahmachari could lie with naked women and remain unaffected, without lust or arousal. He even linked it to politics, insisting that his experiments strengthened his ability to serve India. In his mind, conserving semen was the key to power, physical, spiritual, and even national. By the final years of his life, Gandhi was sharing his bed with both Manu, who was 19, and Abaha, the wife of his grandnephew. They were beside him, literally holding his hands, when he was assassinated in January 1948. What did these women think? Surprisingly, there is little evidence of resentment. Manu wrote a memoir titled Bapu, My Mother, describing Gandhi as both father and caretaker, noting his deep affection. But historians still debate, was this devotion or manipulation? For decades after his death, these details were buried, dismissed, or ignored. Biographers glossed over them. The Indian press remained silent. Gandhi's family members actively removed evidence, urging women like Manu to never speak about it. Only letters, diaries, and later testimonies have allowed us to piece together this disturbing side of his life, and so we are left with a paradox. Gandhi, the man who led India to independence through non-violence, also engaged in practices that today would be considered scandalous, even criminal. He preached chastity to the nation but bent the rules for himself. He was revered as Bapu the father, yet his relationships with young women blurred the lines between teacher, guardian, and something far more complicated. How should history judge him? Was Gandhi a hypocrite who exploited his position, or a deeply flawed human being whose brilliance and contradictions cannot be separated? George Orwell once wrote of Gandhi, compared with the other leading political figures of our time, how clean a smell he has managed to leave behind. Perhaps that is true. But it is also true that behind the clean image lies a darker, more unsettling reality. And that reality is what history almost forgot to tell you. This was the hidden side of Mahatma Gandhi, the experiments, the letters, the controversy. A reminder that even the greatest figures in history are not saints. They are human, with flaws, obsessions, and secrets.